All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. So, I don't know about you, but I definitely did not have it on my bingo card today that we would see Will Wade return to LSU to once again be their men's basketball coach. But guess what? This is what we're dealing with. It was only 369 days ago that Wade had agreed to become the head basketball coach at North Carolina State, which was fresh off of him leading McNeese State to the second round of the NCAA tournament. And after getting the Wolfpack to the tournament this year, which also included knocking off rival North Carolina during the regular season, it really appeared that Wade was setting up his new foundation in Raleigh. But that is clearly not the case now, as Wade is on his way back to Baton Rouge. Now, you cannot tell the basketball story of Will Wade without discussing his dismissal at LSU, which stemmed from him discussing a payment to a recruit during a phone conversation. Remember, the FBI had that conversation recorded. And by 2022, Wade would be let go at LSU. However, a lot has taken place since Wade last resided in Baton Rouge. The school president and athletic director who were at LSU at the time when was let go, they're no longer there. More Will Wade supporters are in place now, if you will. You think about it, the assistant AD at LSU was working at McNeese State when Will Wade was there. Okay, just to name a few. It's one of those where you look at things, LSU's program has not been great basketball wise since Will Wade's dismissal. They only have one winning season over that stretch, zero NCAA tournament appearances, while they are just 17-55 within the SEC during that period. And the bottom line is, whatever way you want to think about Will Wade, okay, and I'm not here to say, yeah, I'm a Will Wade guy, high five him, all that other stuff. Nonetheless, whichever camp that you want to come from on this, the bottom line is Will Wade wins basketball games, and that's what the boosters at Baton Rouge want. Clearly, there is plenty of money in the great state of Louisiana, as we've seen over the last 150 days. We saw Brian Kelly get bought out from his contract as a football coach at LSU. We saw LSU lure Lane Kiffin away from Ole Miss to replace Brian Kelly. They paid his buyout at Ole Miss, and of course, they gave Lane Kiffin a king's ransom as well to be their new head football coach, rather. And then LSU paying Matt McMahon, the now former basketball coach, to go away, while also paying Will Wade's buyout at North Carolina State, along with giving him a new contract to return to LSU. So the bottom line is there is money in Louisiana. There's no mixing ifs, ands, or buts about it. I will say this: things are getting very interesting in the Southeastern Conference from a basketball perspective, as we get to play the game as far as coaches go, as far as who is staying and who is going. Of course, we've heard Nate Oates' name being rumored, and it's only a rumor, okay, as far as him potentially leaving Alabama to go to North Carolina, since that job is open. Will that happen? We have to wait and see. All signs, of course, right now point to Todd Golden getting a massive extension to remain at Florida. Of course, I said this the other night when the North Carolina job came open, that, there are going to be some coaches around college basketball that are going to get paid in order to stay where they're at and not go to North Carolina. Todd Golden is one of them. Okay. And you just think about it, because if Golden and Oates decide to stay where they're currently at, respectively, okay, and along with the likes of Sean Miller at Texas, Chris Beard at Ole Miss, and John Calipari at Arkansas, and Will Wade returning to LSU, just some of the quality name head coaches that we have in the Southeastern Conference, as it's not just a football conference anymore. And of course, we've seen the SEC have success in other sports, a la women's basketball, baseball. We can go right down the list, but nonetheless, primarily, most people, when they think about the Southeastern Conference, they think about football. You look at what is going on from a men's basketball perspective as well. This league is relentless. Okay. It's one of those for me. Another question on the other side of this coin, if you will, is what is next for North Carolina State? Because there's going to be a lot of stories coming out about this over the next couple of days. One story, and it's a story that's out there. All right, is that LSU, had reached out to Will Wade about possibly returning there, and the rumor is that he went to school officials at North Carolina State seeking more money for his assistant coaches as well as for the NIL program. And when the school officials there said no, he basically was on the first thing smoking back to Baton Rouge. I am sure that there's more to that. I'm sure there's other stories that are going to come out along with that. But honestly, I feel like from a North Carolina State perspective, they felt like they were lied to, this, that, and the third. I totally get it. But now you have to face the reality that you're in if you're NC State, and that is you've got to go out there and find yourself a new head basketball coach. And if you're NC State, this ain't the time to do it because if you're a top name head coach, and this is no disrespect to NC State, you're going to look at it and say, do I want to go to Raleigh and NC State, or do I want to go to Chapel Hill with North Carolina? If that's your two choices right there, you're going to go to Chapel Hill and you're going to go to North Carolina. So that is what NC State has to deal with, and also the potential of maybe a school like Kansas, also having an opening depending on whether or not that their current head coach Bill Self decides to retire. So I think for NC State to go out there and try to find themselves a new head coach, I don't think they need to go out there and find themselves a home run hire. I think they need to go out there and find somebody who's going to be committed to North Carolina State. And with that said, I don't think that they're going to have the luxury, if you will, to go out there and find themselves an established big name head coach. I think they're going to have to go out there and go at it from the standpoint of getting somebody who is looking to move up in the basketball realm of things. That's where I think NC State is at for this. The bottom line is getting back to LSU, they just want to win. And again, because they want to win, everything that went on with Will Wade in the past is in the past and it's going to stay there. But if you're LSU, I mean, you think about it. These are the 4 seasons that they've had since Will Wade left. And again, he got them to the tournament in 2019, got them back there again in 2021, as well as 2022. Since then, we saw LSU go 14 and 19, 17 and 16, 14 and 18, and then finally this year, 15 and 17. And overall, in each of the last 2 years, okay, in the Southeastern Conference, each year, the Tigers went just 3 and 15. That's not going to get it done. What we're seeing right here is the big business that is collegiate athletics. And with that said, from my standpoint, it just makes it hilarious to hear the so-called adults in the room preaching loyalty to the players. Because my thing is this: how many of these kids just went to LSU, or pardon me, went to NC State because of Will Wade? Okay, and now you got some people out there who are trying to say, well, kids, should only have the opportunity to transfer in college one time. But what about when the coach that recruited them to go to that school then decides to up and leave? I've seen it personally happen. Okay, and the kids are stuck there. So I'm looking at it right now. It's the business aspect of it, and if coaches can leave, so can players. It's a two-way street, my friends. But I look at North Carolina State, and I'm like this: they had themselves a guy who was committed to NC State. Don't get me wrong. Last year was not great for Kevin Keats there, but let's go back to 2024 when he got NC State to the Final Four for the first time since the days of Jim Valvano. It was more than 40 years. He had a 12 and 19 season in 2025, and the school, surprisingly, instead of, you know, reinstilling their resources around Kevin Keats and saying, hey, what can we do to help you get this team back to where you were a very recent time before? Instead, they showed him the door, and they showed him the door for Will Wade. And guess what? Now Will Wade left NC State at the altar, and guess what? They are starting over yet again. For LSU, they want to get back into the mix of things in the Southeastern Conference. Okay, they want to be up there with the Floridas. They want to be up there with the Vanderbilts and the Alabamas and the Arkansas, and where a team like Kentucky is trying to get back to, and so forth. And I mean, we've seen the depth of this conference all season long throughout the SEC. They sent 10 schools to the NCAA tournament. They have an opportunity to possibly get a couple of those teams maybe through to the Final Four. I know that Texas lost tonight. You still got the likes of Arkansas and Alabama who are still in this tournament, but nonetheless, this is where LSU wants to get back to, and they feel that Will Wade is going to be the guy that's going to help them get there. The bottom line is this: March Madness is not just about what we see on the hardwood. This coaching cycle is going to be insane. We saw it in college football throughout the college football playoff, and we're seeing it in college basketball right now because the expectations to win at these big time schools, these big time football schools, even though I'm talking basketball, they are through the roof. And you have boosters who are willing to pay top dollar to their head coaches, top dollars to the rosters for these children or kids, excuse me, young men, through the NILs, and they want to go out there and they want to see W's. The bottom line is the big power brokers at LSU, they're tired of seeing their team get pushed around on the basketball court, and they want to get back, like I said, and rub elbows with some of the top teams in the Southeastern Conference. They want to get to that NCAA tournament, and they want to win and advance, and they feel that Will Wade is the guy for the job. So like I said before, I did not see this coming. If you had asked me this a day or so before, I'd have been like, wow, okay, that's interesting. Yeah, maybe, but now that Will Wade has left Raleigh and NC State to go back to LSU, the bottom line is they want to win. Will Wade is going to be the guy that's going to help them do it because Will Wade will win games at LSU. He's done it before, and I guarantee you he's going to do it again. LSU has their guy, and it came at an expensive rate for North Carolina State. So I'm really interested to see where NC State goes from here. We just saw Phil Martelli Jr. at VCU get an extension. Okay, he likes it there. I think he would be a good fit at North Carolina State personally. I'm not sure if the Wolfpack are going to be able to get him, but the bottom line is they need to go out there and find themselves somebody who is committed to North Carolina State. But nonetheless, Will Wade left Raleigh almost as quick as he got there. The ink basically dried on the deal, and now he's back in Baton Rouge with Louisiana State. So let's see what's next for LSU, and let's see who NC State can find to replace Will Wade. But folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank each and every one of you for checking out the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. And as always, if you like what you heard and saw on this podcast, you know what to do. Just hit that like button as well as subscribing to this channel. And like I always say, it's greatly appreciated. Also, if you are on the X, formerly known as Twitter, you can check me out anytime at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you give me that follow, it will be my pleasure to do the same in return. Also, you can check me out the same way on Instagram. Give me that follow. Check me out at 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge. You give me that follow, I'll do the same in return. And then also, if you're on Facebook, check me out at the Sports Depot 365. And as far as I'm always concerned, one of the better sports groups going on social media. Before I sign off tonight, I just want to say this. Lost a friend today. Just thinking about the good times that we had over the years. And before I sign off, I'll just say this as one final tribute to you, because you always said it to me. Get on my back, dog. You'll never be forgotten. Got a lot of love for you. But until next time, fine folks, my name is William Martin. I'm signing off, and I'm saying thanks once again for checking out the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. Be well, everybody.